Hello, good evening. Welcome. It's a Friday, and I want to thank you so kindly for joining us on the last edition of Journalist Hangout for the week. I am Citizen Jones Hussein. Today, we'll share this with you. Plateau State Governor kicks against anti-grazing law in some states, just as Benue buries victims, and later on, we'll share this with you as well. Fuel queues defy NNPC as long queues reappear in Abuja, Port Harcourt, and other areas. I'm hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and, of course, Boyega Akoshile. You're welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome to
Thank you, gentlemen. Welcome to the program. Let's hit the road. All right, then, Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State appears to have elevated the debate about ranching and expanded the frontiers of rationalizing legislation against it by individual states on the matter. The Plateau Herdsman has let it be known that he counseled his neighbor and Benue Governor Samuel Otom against implementing the anti-grazing law in his state. He, Lalong, used to face the same problem, he said, until he discarded the idea. Gentlemen, we have quite a problem on our hands. The Plateau State government, Governor Jide, says anti-grazing law was divisive and appears targeted at a particular ethnic group. That's a sentiment, perhaps, we want to approach here.
Yes, that's what he said. But you see, he chose the wrong time to say it, because when people are still mourning the loss of more than 70 people, you do not come out and talk like the governor did something wrong. You see, whether Lalong likes it or not, the people of Benue State are behind their governor on this, because the idea of coming up with the anti-grazing law was in response to constant clashes between herdsmen and farmers. And there's no governor who is truly worth his position, who will sit back and watch those killings continue. The truth is, Benue and Taraba are the most fertile states for agriculture in Nigeria, those two states. Both of them, they constitute the breadbasket of Nigeria. And because anything you plant in Benue will grow. For herdsmen, is a natural place for them to go.
To graze?
Yes, it's a natural place for them to go. I hear people talk about, Fauci came up with his own law, this and that. But the truth is, how many herdsmen go to Ekiti? The number of herdsmen who go to Benue, you can't even compare to Plateau. So with Benue, it's a much bigger problem than it is for Plateau. Herdsmen and Plateau natives, GBROMs, they always quarrel. They always quarrel, killings here and there.
This must be a
but that one had nothing to do with grazing.
Okay.
So when it comes, most herdsmen would want to graze in the Mambila area, because the grass in the Mambila area is the best in Nigeria.
More green, yeah.
Even their cattle is usually bigger. Obasanjo has 300 cows in Gembu, in the Mambila Plateau. So the preference for Benue is because of the fact that the land is fertile and the grass is green, which is good food for cattle. Okay. So, and for so long, we've been having these killings. If it's not in the Agatu area, it will be somewhere either in Vandekia or Gwe West, because that land is fertile. So, and the governor was thinking, how do I solve this problem? It's the same law that the governor of Taraba has come up with. Yeah. Because they've witnessed killings and they are not prepared to let it go on. So you can't blame a governor for coming up with this law, especially at this time. Yes, he had his point, because even Lalong himself admitted that ranching is still the solution.
Regardless.
Yes.
Regardless.
So someone has to start something.
Quite a lot, Boyga, quite a lot to talk about. But then let me share this footage with you. The idea is not to raise passion or emotion. Okay. This is how the procession went yesterday or the other day when people were buried in Benue State. Please watch on.
We will continue to insist and call for the arrest of the leadership of Mayor Tiala, especially the secretary and chairman of that. They must be prosecuted, because when you allow impunity, you're calling for anarchy. Because when there is lawlessness, because when there is no sanction on those who offend the law, when those who violate laws of the land go scot-free, it means you're calling for lawlessness. Because other people too can follow suit. Because those people do not have monopoly of lawlessness. We can do the same. We're just that we have chosen to be law-abiding, but we should not be taken for granted.
We cannot continue to be the cannon fodder for Nigeria's unity. If the people who run Nigeria, whom we voted solidly for, cannot protect us, we shall teach our people to organize themselves.
If a situation calls for this state to raise any number of army, I don't mind, even though I'm getting old, commanding that army.
All right, that's how it went. Of course, following the speeches, we had the procession. And we had tens of coffins given a mass burial. Boyga, how do you react to this development?
I mean, it's very unfortunate, and we never thought that this kind of thing would continue. Well, we had always known that this has not been adequately taken care of, but we never thought it would happen at this, proportion, where there will be mass killings of people because of clashes between farmers and herdsmen. And of course, people have said so many things. People have their own opinions because it's a Fulani president, or because this, because that, because. But to me, what is important is what we're here, discussing now, and which is this man, the Plateau State Governor, talking about. When I read the stuff he said yesterday, I was like, well, yes, you're making a point. Like Dide said, you're making a point, but
you should have picked your time.
Exactly, the time is very wrong. Right time. People are mourning first and foremost. I mean, because if you remember, he made that a statement to the pressmen immediately after he held a meeting with President Buhari. Yeah. So to me, I was like, I mean, you're coming from a meeting with the president, and you're saying this kind of thing. I think as an elder, as a leader, not just an elder, as a leader in a country, you should guard your utterances. You should know the kind of things to say, and people are bitter, not just people of Benue. All of us are bitter about this development, and the most important thing is that this issue should be taken care of and adequately too.
As they say, cure the cause.
Exactly.
Not the effect. Okay then, so what did Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State really say? We share that with you now.
I did. I told them. Even the governor of Benue, I told him. When he was doing the law, I said, look, why don't you just be careful. Take the other steps before you start implementation. Well, but states are different. He said his own concept is different. And so for us, Plateau is different. I said I will not do the law before implementation. I have not seen rangers. I have not yet developed the ranching areas. So I can't go and say I put a law. To stop who? If I stop the people, what is the alternative? What is the alternative for them? So what you do is, first of all, I say do consultation, allow the people to understand and buy into the concept. I can't implement. There are levels of implementation which requires federal government intervention.
Jide, the governor went on to advise against enacting a law before developing a ranching area, in this case.
Yes.
Again, timing and what you say, the mix.
You see, he also said that there should have been sufficient consultation and all that. Before the law came into effect, they had public hearing. And of course, the Mietiala said from day one that they will not buy the idea, that they do not want ranching. All they want is for their cattle to roam free.
That's it.
You know, it doesn't matter to them whether it's still the norm across the world. Countries that are below Nigeria in every way, Tanzania, Swaziland, even Swaziland, is like Swaziland can barely even exist without South Africa. Swaziland, they are doing ranching. Mozambique, they are doing ranching. I've been to Mozambique before. You can't compare Mozambique to Nigeria in any way.
Yeah.
So if it's working, why are we so averse to change in our country? Especially change that will be beneficial in the long run. We always don't want to see it happen. So I do not even agree that the Benue governor, that there was not wide consultation. I agree with him to the extent that implementation is key. You can't come up with a law that you cannot implement. And I've said it here before that when some people asked Fashola whether he will ban, will do total ban of Okada in Lagos, he said, I cannot do total ban of Okada in Lagos because I have to be worried about the implementation. Even the fact that you've banned them from applying some routes in Lagos, it's still difficult to implement. Because you see policemen conniving with them and compromising the effectiveness of the law. So that is an issue. So now, clearly, you cannot implement, you don't have coercive powers of your own. You don't have coercive agencies of your own or security operatives of your own. So it's a difficult thing in this kind of federation. You have to, federal government controls the police, federal government controls the army. If a crisis breaks out, Benue has not got an army to confront these invaders. And as I said last week, these people, a lot of them are not Nigerians. Because they are paid killers, they send from them from Mali, from Mauritania, from Senegal, from different places. And once they kill our people, they vanish into thin air. So you need an effective security.
It provokes the question of why? To what avail?
Do they do that?
Do they send people to kill? To what avail?
The truth we must tell ourselves is the herders, when they graze their cattle, sometimes they trample on people's farms.
Yeah.
Sometimes farmers poison the cows. And when they poison their cows,
through the crops they eat.
Yes, they can easily poison. That's what gets them agitated. When they poison their cows and they lose many heads of cattle, they come back to avenge. Sometimes too, the people, once the herders bring cattle into farms, they attack them. If they can easily overpower them, they attack them. Maybe they kill one or two herdsmen. It happened, that was what happened in Plateau some weeks back, I think almost 2 months ago. And they killed a little Fulani boy. But they came back and killed people. Because that's why when people say Fulani herdsmen, I've been trying to popularize the idea of calling them the Fulani militia. Because the militia is ready. It can be summoned at any time.
At short notice.
At any time. All they need to do is send the message across, whether it's from Sudan that they will come from, or Mauritania, they will come and then do the fighting. The people, the herdsmen that you and I see, they are not the people who fight. Yeah, you will never even find guns on them.
And it's a mystery. Bwega, man was not made for laws. Laws were made for man. So the Plateau man is saying dialogue with, in this case, the Miyetti Allah before a law is enacted. But what's the essence of government?
Well, I must tell you first and foremost that the Miyetti Allah will not even go into any dialogue with you as far as this grazing law is concerned. They've made their position known. If you go by what Professor Wale Soyinka said, you know, in his postulation about a week ago or thereabouts, that dominance, you know, they want to dominate. And just like Jide said, you know, now that they are averse to change. They don't want to, they don't like the idea of ranching. And that's a big problem. So when you're going into a dialogue with someone whose mind is made up on what he wants or what she wants, it's a bit difficult. However, what's the role of government? Government can apply, because government still needs to rely on
carrot and stick.
Exactly. Right. Government needs to rely on law before it, you know,
it can take any action.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then, you know, we need to continue to put pressure on different groups. I need to quickly make something known. These Fulani herdsmen, a lot of people do not know that they're not Fulani as a people. They're not only Nigerians. You have Fulani spread across the northern region, Senegal. Yeah, so it travels very far from Nigeria. So when people talk about the Fulanis, it's not just
but there are
within
Fulanis
the geographical...
who are native, in this case, to Nigeria, to Benin, to Mali.
Yes, there are. But then, you know, we need to understand that. And he made one very valid point. I mean, even in the Southwest here, we see a whole lot of these herdsmen. In Lagos, we have some of them here. These guys don't carry arms. They just, you know, they go about, with their heads.
Which is why I talked about curing the cause. Can we really place a finger on the cause of these frictions? Can we really?
It's not difficult to know the cause of this friction. It is the fact that they need green pasture for their cattle. Where can they find green pasture? They are roaming the length and breadth of Nigeria looking for where to find green pasture. Sometimes they even climb mountains with these animals. The highest mountain in Nigeria is in Taraba State, Chapawadil, or what the Fulani will call Gangarwa, because of the Gangarwa is talking about the size of the mountain, the height of it. They take their cattle on top of it,
to the peak.
Leave them there. Just make sure that they provide enough water and salt that the cattle need desperately. They leave them there. By the time they come back, you know, their cattle will be looking really healthy. Now, in this case, when they get involved in open grazing, because the law is actually anti-open grazing, which means that there are limits, there are places that you shouldn't go to.
But then in going to, let's refer to Simon Lalong here. He says, prepare the grounds, and then you can enact this law.
Yes, he said that. I had that.
Is that not?
I had that. He has a point. I was going to talk about, before you ask the question of what causes this conflict.
Okay then.
Because the people, is farming communities that they are always in conflict with. Because the Fulani man wants to attain economic survival, at least for himself.
And by
and his
nature
family.
is nomadic.
He's nomadic, he has to move around. Now, the farmer too, if what he has planted gets eaten up
It's not allowed to
by,
grow.
by
herds.
cattle, you set him back by a whole year. So it's a matter of life and death for the farmer. And for the cattle rearer himself, whose sustenance is dependent on taking those cows all around, looking for green pasture. But we can find a solution to these things. The former governor of Sokoto State, Aliu Wamako, came up with this idea. He developed a huge place. It's actually in a place called Rabah. That's the local government of the former premier, the late premier.
Okay.
Now, out of 5,000 hectares, he set aside 1,000 hectares, brought in Argentines with sprinklers and all. And all that they are doing is grow.
Integrated.
Just grow food, grow grass, highly nutritious grass that cattle can feed on. And then there are farm settlements attached to that area, that massive expanse of land that he had created. The current governor is continuing that project, is almost 90% complete. The idea is by the time they are through with this, the cattle will find rich source of vitamins and all that. If the herders are told that, look, this is the area where we want you to stay. This is the food. You have access to dam, access to water. You have access to veterinary services and all that. I'm sure that it will not, it will not be difficult.
Grazing will be taken care of.
So now, but if we do not do all of that, if we do not, because they have to see that this is the alternative for us, and this alternative will not imperil us in any way economically. They will buy into the idea. They may, some people may still say, no, I don't, but invariably, if they see value in it, they will buy into it. So we have to take those steps. I know why the governor of Benue had to quickly move, because he was already even losing popularity in his state. Every time he would run to Abuja to say, oh, they've killed my people again. Remember the killings that took place in Agatu? There's no governor who will feel comfortable about that. So he was looking for a way to just, let's stop this. How do we stop this? You know, that's what happened.
Boga, let's digress a little. Land is vested in government, both at the federal and at the states. People are tinkered with the idea of retwigging the Land Use Act.
Well, I mean,
if it makes sense to you.
Well, people have been talking about it, and I'm sure that you know, it's a continuous debate. It's a continuous debate because first and foremost, I don't see, personally too, I don't see why government will come and lay claim to land, but because the law favors government, what can we do? So a lot of people are now coming up to say that, hey, you know, let's do something about this. I mean, we are the original owners of this land.
So in this case, a federal law. We need a federal law.
Well, I don't think so. I think you know, it should still be the way it is. We can't over-centralize things, you know, with government. I mean, federal.
It was even defeated at the Senate.
Oh, really? I'm not even aware of that. So we can't, you know, stuff like that, you know, with the federal government. I think the way it is, you know, for me, it's just for us to continue to localize and then look at the imperatives that determine what works in A and as against what works in B.
Otherwise, Jude, again, this clash of civilizations is something you can't really rationalize in the 21st century. Yes. To say a people are avowed to a particular new thinking.
And that's why I'm disappointed in those Mieti Allah guys, because I just see them as playing to the gallery. These are young people, educated. Many of them have traveled abroad. They don't do, they have cattle. They don't take cattle from north to south because they don't even have the energy to do it. You see them conditioned officers.
What are those who come down
the
south?
Mieti Allah people. I'm saying that.
The officials.
The officials who are talking now are talking the embers of war.
No, those was not the guys that
I'm saying that they do not. They have cows.
They have cows, but they don't.
They do not on their own.
No.
They went to school. They are educated. Those guys are educated. As you see them.
They're businessmen.
They are not taking cattle from north to south. They know. There are many Nigerians today.
People do it on their behalf.
Many senators, many House of Reps members, they have cattle in Nasarawa and different places.
Let me quickly take
but
Johnson.
They are not openly
Johnson is joining us from Kaduna. Welcome, Johnson.
Good evening.
Yeah, how do you do?
Thank you, I'm fine.
Welcome.
My brother, Babajide, well done, sir.
I greet you.
Yes, sir. Before I make my contribution, please, I just want to make a suggestion. Please, can you help us with additional number different from the network we have, so that we have 3. That last number will be from another network.
But you've got us. Let's go.
Okay. You guys here.
Okay. Oh, okay.
My contribution is this.
Oh, really? Go on, Johnson.
My contribution is this. You see, some people try to link this crisis to being a Fulanima. Now, the reason is, if you look at during the time of lamentation, when our president left office, he really associates with people. He really goes out. But when this crisis of Fulani Herdsmen came up, he went to Ibadan to see lamentation. Then, 2015, sir, Babajide should remember when because of this cattle rustler, he went to Zamfara, dead in full military regalia, and soldiers were deployed immediately to kill because of stolen cows. Now we see people dying, killing people, and our president did not respond on time. And you see, though not going there personally, sending aid is still okay. But what people want to see is him even coming personally. You see, if you check throughout this crisis, Mr. President has not gone to Benue. So it makes people to raise some kind of concern. And when Mr. President will finally send somebody, he's deploying Nigeria police. If Mr. President is not sending police to go and stop stealing of cows.
Thank you, Johnson. Thank you, Johnson. We got you first time. Boyga, and we can expand this debate by...
You might want to be forced to dance to the sentiment of people that are calling for Mieti being declared as a terror organization. Yes, I think, but again, Johnson said something about Mr. President not talking about it's not coming.
Which is why I brought up the idea.
Yes, the president usually, if you've studied him, he doesn't talk. He takes. I don't know whether it's his person or maybe it's the people around him that advise that, Mr. President, you don't need to make comments yet and all that. But by the time they even, I'm not even against him not talking, but when they eventually talk, what comes out is what really saddens me. Comparing numbers. We're talking about death of people here. Femi Adesina, of course, he spoke on behalf of his principal. Comparing numbers under former president, Goodluck Jonathan, and the current president. And I was discussing with Babajide before we came on air that even at that, Mr. Adesina is still wrong, because more people have been killed under this administration than under the last administration. But we shouldn't even be comparing.
As a matter of fact, losing a life needlessly is bad enough. All right, the debate must continue. We'll take this break. Still to come, fuel scarcity and the attendant long queues. Return to Abuja. Stay with us. All right, then. Welcome back. Let's, for the benefit of those who don't already know, history tells us that former President Goodluck Jonathan first mooted the idea of ranching across the country. Former Governor Gabriel Suswam was in charge of the group that was to galvanize a new thinking in this direction. But so before we taking it home,
yes,
ranching is the way to go.
It is the way
and
to
so
go.
Whoever is averse to civilization must do some more thinking.
must also ask questions, must ask people who live in other lands, how do you do it? Mm-hmm. We don't have more cattle than Sudan. Mm-hmm. Our neighbors, when it comes to livestock, these countries around us, Chad, Niger, Sudan, they have more livestock. And even their livestock are usually bigger than our own. Mm. Every year when we are doing this Ileya, this Muslim
travel
they bring rams from Chad. Oh, really? And their rams are bigger. You see the thing. And they don't, the volume of rainfall.
They don't graze.
Largely, they don't graze. The volume of rainfall in those countries is a lot lower than Nigeria. Mm. I gave the example of Kansas and Nebraska earlier in the week. They have more than 2 million heads of cattle. And all of them are being ranched. So, and they are very big. And you see, when you see a cow from Florida, you will know now that this is from Florida. They won't be skinny like our own. Very fat, looking well fed. You know, even you feel like eating cow meat. You know, so that is the thing. We should give this idea a chance. If Goodluck Jonathan had lasted longer,
he had survived the election.
Maybe we would have gone far with this, because something has started. Governors, a lot of the governors said at that time that they didn't want grazing reserves, but they would prefer ranching. So they had gone for the idea.
Yeah.
So this is something that I think can work. If it has worked in South Africa, it can work.
Take it home.
And he even said it in his response that it dealt decisively with the issue of herdsmen when he was president. I'm talking about, Goodluck Jonathan. Yeah. No, let's give it to him. He did his best. He provided a solution. And I think it is just incumbent upon the current government to take it from where former President Goodluck Jonathan.
Yeah, but in governance we say
it is continual.
You kick and follow, as they do in soccer.
Yeah. So they should kick and follow, and like they're doing in Lagos.
Brazilians would rather put the ball on the ground.
Yeah, but they move it about. They follow the ball. All right, gentlemen. The debate is robust, so we must continue with it. And now, quickly. Like the proverbial cat with 9 lives, fuel scarcity appears to have defied NNPC palliatives, thereby making long queues at petrol stations a way of life in our part of the world. The nation's capital and Port Harcourt are the worst hit. Petrol stations insist they have not got products to dispense because the supply is inadequate. We are joined now by Tolu Lokpe Ogunjobi. He covers energy, beat. Tolu, you're welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
I make no pretenses about it. You don't have a petrol station, but then you know what goes on at the petrol station.
Yes, indeed. Well, just like we've always said on this program, and that's come to pass, if I will be able to use that, NNPC was not really prepared for this. And on Tuesday, I was with a team with DPR and some other officials from NNPC, and we visited major depots. When I say major depots, I mean those guys that they really need to have this product in stock. The Bovas of this world, the Technos of this world. As in the
NNPC saw it coming?
NNPC kept saying they had reserves now. So we now went there to really see if they really have these reserves in place. We didn't see anything. There's a particular cluster, about 8 depots. The Bovas of it was just like, all of them, the majors, Techno Oil, no product. They don't have a liter. For those that even had the product, they have placed orders. They're supposed to get 26 million liters. You have a facility that can take 30 million. NNPC gives you 15. You have a capacity that can take 20. NNPC gives you 10. So clearly, they are rationing what they're even bringing in. Today, I got a press release from NNPC that they've increased their spot tender. They are now expecting 1,480,000 metric tons of petroleum products. So that means they've admitted that there is a complete shortfall.
Jude, and this, I want us to rationalize, reconcile this with the statement of the GMD of NNPC, Mekanti Baru, who declared that the country had seen the last of fuel scarcity in 2018 and beyond.
I'm used to Mekanti Baru lying to me. Okay. I'm used to that already. I'm used to him.
You call it an open lie?
Yes, from the pit of hell, as I like to say. Because in Abuja now, the queues are very long.
Very long.
I've seen friends, some of my friends have posted pictures to me of queues. Queues in the major filling stations. You know, like in Lagos now, if I'm coming to work, I'm watching out for that Oando in Ojodu.
Yes.
Okay.
Because
Once
they always
there's a
have
queue
products.
there.
Once I do not even see people buying fuel, they are nowhere in trouble.
Problem.
It's like that.
Oh,
Because
Maryland.
it's a major marketer. Now, in Abuja too, there are filling stations that people already expect at all times to have fuel. There is this one opposite Transcorp Hilton. You know that filling station opposite, you know, and a lot of them like that. Now, there are long queues in all of those places. So if you told your countrymen that they've seen the end of it, and today, from Maiduguri, a friend of mine called me to say he bought fuel at 250 naira a liter. Last week, our correspondent, Kolomidala, was reporting people buying fuel at 450 per liter in Maiduguri. Yes. That was more than a week after Mekanti Baru said we are seeing the last. He's the one saying it. We are not blind. If we have seen the last, we know now. We don't even need anybody to tell us. He has gone to depot.
He has gone round.
As I always tell people who are ignorant about these matters, the way to know whether there is trouble is not to go to filling stations. Go to depot. If at most semi-depot they have a capacity to load 80 trucks a day, and they are loading only 20, you know there is fire on the mountain.
There's fire on the mountain.
If in Ejigbo, they have the capacity to load 120 trucks a day, because it's a big depot, and they are only able to load 30. Nobody needs to tell you that, you know. So, but we thank God, because you see, the God that we serve is a God of truth. He's a God of truth. Yes. I was born to serve him. You know, the God we serve is a God of the truth.
Yeah.
So when this whole thing was going on, they were lying, oh, this is marketers, oh, it is people who are diverting. I asked the question, I said, oh, is diversion a new thing in Nigeria? So this problem we have, which you are saying, oh, diversion caused it. Are you saying that in June, in May, when we didn't have this problem, people were not taking petrol across the border? Okay. So the truth is, we have supply gap. Kachiku, this minister who supervises the ministry, came out openly to say there is supply gap. We have him on tape. So now, how long will that supply gap?
All right, Boyga, let's talk about the traditional Nigerian ways of reacting to things. Sanctioning petrol stations is brinkmanship, fire brigade. Are we saying there's no answer to the wahala?
See, it's just, you know, the government is perpetually telling lies to the citizens. And it beats me to beat, you know, why they continue to tell lies. I followed you a lot, especially on social media. I must say that you did a very good job of it, you know, on social media, you know, when this crisis started. In fact, I followed when you had to personally go to some depots, you know, that you were reporting on social media. And it's just very unimaginable that there are no products and the GMD will be telling us there is no problem. I wonder why they cannot just apologize to Nigerians and tell us that
what they are doing to solve the problem.
Look, there is a crisis.
And Nigerians are people willing to...
We're very good people, honestly.
To understand.
There is a crisis. We have a crisis. There's a shortfall in supply. There's a gap in supply. And we're working to mitigate these crises.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Give us another 3 weeks. There will be abundance of supply. And everybody will just, go home with that. Look, even in public relations, when you tell lies, we're taught in PR, it's just a matter of time before the people you're lying to see that you're actually telling lies. Now, it's better you just tell us the truth.
Sometimes you don't tell lies, you bend the truth.
It's lying.
Oh, okay, it's also lying.
When you bend the truth, it's lying.
It's different.
It's another shit.
The former president of the U.S., Barack Obama.
Oh, Barack Obama.
He gathered journalists somewhere, so he was now attacking them over a story. He said, you published lies. They told him, Mr. President, you can only say we publish inaccuracy. Don't say we publish lies.
Tolu, the news here is that concession was given to Dapma, Morman, to obtain forex at 305 naira to the dollar, just so they can bring in products. You consider these palliatives?
Maybe that was before now. That all that happened before October. As at October, all the marketers stopped doing this business because clearly subsidy came in. So that's 26 naira subsidy came in. And who's going to bear that? So the marketers were saying, we're here to do business. Now what they want is to get the forex at a lower rate. Okay, what rate are they giving it to NNPC?
Okay.
What rate is NNPC accessing forex? So why not give them the same rate?
It will be like 240 now.
So if you give them that rate, they can bring in products because
we'll solve this problem.
We consume between 35 to 40 million liters on daily basis, according to the figures from the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources.
Sorry, let me quickly pick Benga from Abuja. Welcome.
Yes, good evening, gentlemen.
How do you do?
I'm fine. Well, in Abuja here, the skills surface, but we have been stealing tankers here and there. Maybe in any moment from now, the queue may subside. But that's by the way. I want to comment on the Herdsmen issue.
Don't take us there. Please, let's talk about...
What I want to say is that politics and religion is affecting it. Some people in some part of the country are saying that if they establish a colony or ranches in their place, that they want to Islamize them. That is the obstacle. That is why there is this problem. If you remove politics and religion...
Benga, that's why I said, don't let us go there.
Let Egypt.
We
are now in Canaan. So
I was going to say something. I was going to say something, in addition to what Tolu said, was analyzing. The problem to apologize to Nigerians and tell us that
what they are doing to solve the problem.
There is a crisis.
And Nigerians are people willing to...
We're very good people, honestly.
To understand.
There is a crisis. We have a crisis. There's a shortfall in supply. There's a gap in supply. And we're working to mitigate these crises. Don't worry. Give us another 3 weeks. There will be abundance of supply. And everybody will just, go home with that. Look, even in public relations, when you tell lies, we're taught in PR, it's just a matter of time before the people you're lying to see that you're actually telling lies. Now, it's better you just tell us the truth.
Sometimes you don't tell lies, you bend the truth.
It's lying.
Oh, okay, it's also lying.
When you bend the truth, it's lying.
It's different.
It's another shit.
The former president of the U.S., Barack Obama.
Oh, Barack Obama.
He gathered journalists somewhere, so he was now attacking them over a story. He said, you published lies. They told him, Mr. President, you can only say we publish inaccuracy. Don't say we publish lies.
Tolu, the news here is that concession was given to Dapma, Morman, to obtain forex at 305 naira to the dollar, just so they can bring in products. You consider these palliatives?
Maybe that was before now. That all that happened before October. As at October, all the marketers stopped doing this business because clearly subsidy came in. So that's 26 naira subsidy came in. And who's going to bear that? So the marketers were saying, we're here to do business. Now what they want is to get the Forex at a lower rate. Okay, what rate are they giving it to NNPC?
Okay.
What rate is NNPC accessing Forex? So why not give them the same rate?
It will be like 240 now.
You know? So if you give them that rate, they can bring in products because we can
solve this problem.
We consume between 35 to 40 million liters on daily basis, according to the figures from the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources.
Sorry, let me quickly pick Benga from Abuja. Welcome.
Yes, good evening, gentlemen.
How do you do?
I'm fine. Well, in Abuja here, the skill surface, but we have been stealing tankers here and there. Maybe in any moment from now, the queue may subside. But that's by the way. I want to comment on the Herdsmen issue.
Don't take us there. Please, let's talk about...
What I want to say is that politics and religion is affecting it. Some people in some part of the country are saying that if they establish a colony or ranches in their place, that they want to Islamize them. That is the obstacle. That is why there is this problem. If you remove politics and religion, and
Benga, that's why I said, don't let us go there.
That
border post.
Let Egypt.
We are now in Canaan. Yeah. So
I was going to say something. I was going to say something, in addition to what Tolu said, was analyzing. The problem to me is that the economy has been badly battered as a result of the Forex. And this has affected every aspect of our, at a micro or, macro in economic activities.
Yeah.
So this is affecting the marketers. So the need to get the Forex at a lower rate for them to bring in the products. Look, once they have the Forex, they will bring in products and Nigerians will not suffer.
And NNPC should monitor them.
Exactly. And Nigerians will be all right. My brother, I keep saying something in my office. I said, I just stormed out of my office, my colleagues, and I'm like, why is this country designed to make people suffer?
No, we are not designed to make people suffer.
No. Are you looking at designers here?
Gucci's of this world?
No. So, sincerely, the financial institutions are also, and I won't blame them.
No, you can't blame them.
They've gotten their fingers burnt with the oil and gas business. We don't have to mention names of banks here, but some banks almost ran out of business because of the oil thing last year. Because many of them really gave loans to these marketers to bring in products. And when you're bringing in products and you're losing, and
subsidy claims don't get paid quickly.
Yes. 800 billion is still outstanding.
Yes. They did. You know when NNPC came out and were accusing those marketers of owing them, by the next day, they came up with their own figure. And then they
people just kept quiet.
So what are you talking
look
about?
At all of these things.
800 billion.
Those are the things that an average intelligent Nigerian will look at and will be like, you ask yourself question, why are these people lying to us? I am totally in support
because
of
they
the
don't want to
marketers.
accept responsibility.
Marketers are businessmen, for goodness sake.
Do you know that, during the Senate hearing, that was when I discovered that even when they bring in products, MPA will be charging them in dollars.
The Ports Authority?
Yes, they pay in dollars.
Which is even against the law.
Yeah,
so now, you know what they will now do? These same marketers will now go to black market and be sourcing for Forex to pay.
And so the consumer takes the rap.
The heat will be on the consumer, the Nigerian people, for goodness sake.
I don't know if any of you here has heard this. There's an underlying suspicion that plans are afoot to jack up the pump price of...
Well, if subsidy is not paid and marketers are not allowed to bring in products, then what will happen at the end of the day?
NNPC will still bring it.
They will continue suffering like this.
Yes, Kachiku said it.
He said it now?
They
subsidize.
Yes, Kachiku said it.
The good thing is, hold on a bit. You see, the NNPC will still continue to bring in products. We want to retain the price at 145.
Okay.
So NNPC, the trading loss, NNPC will bear that trading loss because at 145, we are no profit, and no marketer will do this business at 145. So what we'll now do is, although Senate and other people don't want to hear subsidy, but the good thing is crude oil price is going to 70 now, 69, 70. Yes. Once we are happy about that, once we sell crude oil, from the proceeds of the crude oil, we can pay the subsidy. Yeah. We can set aside some money to pay the subsidy. Nobody, we'll just do it. But these people are saying no, that who determines the volume that is sold? Because even that, you can't leave that to civil servants. In this generation of civil servants, that one person will have 86 houses. You can't leave that. So you want to stop. You want to stop marketers from stealing through subsidy. You want to stop marketers from diverting forex to BDCs. But who is going to stop the civil servant from? Who's going to stop the civil servant from stealing?
Even outside Lagos and other states, the north, south, everywhere, they don't even buy at.
It is only Lagos.
Already, it does not even look like
the way it is now, Seth. It is only Lagos and Abuja that people are not suffering. Other places, my friend,
don't say that. People are suffering in Lagos.
I said to see, because we are still getting product.
We are still getting.
My friend Tunde Oladunjoye was posting yesterday on Facebook that Ijebu-Ode, that fuel scarcity is serious in Ijebu-Ode.
Have you been to Ikorodu lately, sir? I go to Ikorodu almost every day. So that's why I said, even in Lagos, when you enter from that Majidun, no fuel, no sales,
selling.
So my friends that live there,
so it's just even a part of Lagos that we are even enjoying.
I carry kegs around in my car. When I go there, I help them to buy from Lagos. So it's like from Lagos to another part of Lagos.
That's what my brother did when he was going to Ilorin.
So we're still suffering.
When he was going to Ilorin, he bought fuel, gave to my parents. When he was going there to pick his child, who was on holidays there, he bought more. Because they can't find fuel.
Before we go, we can talk about sharp practices of Nigerians. We hear pumps are recalibrated.
And very well.
That's another angle to
very
it.
Well.
And increases the suffering.
Very well.
Of course.
Some will sell for you at 145, and when they dispense for you, you see what they dispense. 10 liters will be 8 liters.
Yes. So you think they are doing you a favor?
I'm buying at 200 naira per liter.
You think this is a good filling station, they are selling at 145. You are just ignorant. The person who's selling at 145 has probably made you.
Oh my God.
Has probably sold to you at 200.
200. At the end of the day. So I think NNPC will keep bringing in products. They say they will double their efforts to try and meet up. That means they know that there is still a gap. They know. Because we're running this now for more than 4 weeks now. Scarcity for more than 4 weeks. And it still seems to be that way. Besides Lagos.
It's only Lagos and Abuja that the problem is partly solved.
A little bit of relief.
Not the whole country.
They have to decide.
Let's also drop in this one. Panic buying.
Look, people will continue.
Ugamadu, the chief publicist of NNPC, saying panic buying.
What is panic buying?
What triggers it?
What is panic buying?
When there is
it is only in the season of insufficient supply that we hear all this English by diversion and
panic buying.
Black market. If you put enough products in the market, nobody hoards petrol because it's dangerous. Petrol hoarding. You will lose at the end of the day because it evaporates. So the so-called Nigerians don't have that much money. The disposable income of most Nigerians is not impressive. So if someone is buying to fill his tank, it's just to make life less cumbersome for him over the next few days. So they should stop deceiving themselves that, what is panic buying?
Honestly, of course, I also read this. I got the press statement and I'm like, what is this? It's just that they must say something.
Ugamadu. One out lies.
It's just that they must recycle what, they must think of what to
quickly,
say.
How do you close? We must go.
Yeah, I think they should just, look at Nigerians and the plight of Nigerians. Nigerians are suffering. They should double their efforts like, Tolu has said, bring in these products, to alleviate the suffering of the people.
And this suffering is man-made. Tolu, how do
If NNPC can sustain it, they should keep it up. If they can't, they should bring in the marketers and do business with them. Good, clean business. Let's have fuel everywhere around the country.
I am convinced that the NNPC does not have the capacity to do this alone. They only did it for 1 month and it collapsed in their hands. The Minister of State has said that the NNPC does not have the capacity. The head of DPR has said that as long as NNPC is the only agency importing, this problem will remain. I think what the president needs to do for our country, because we elected him, is to solve this problem. We don't want lies. We don't want excuses. Just solve this problem once and for all, and let our people stop suffering.
Gentlemen, we must thank you for coming. Tolu Lokpe Ogunjobi, many thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Bogad Akoshile.
You got it right.
Ami Bibio, forgive my Yoruba. And then we have Babajide Kolade Otitoju.
I agree too.
We must go now, but let's leave this with you. Knowing the right thing to do and not doing it is the worst form of cowardice. I'm done. That's all on the program this evening. Join us tomorrow. No. On Monday for another interesting episode. Watch the repeat broadcast at 11 tonight. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on other platforms showing on the screen and on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I am Citizen Jones Hussein. Thank you. Bye-bye now.